Maybe I'm poorer than Patricia's sister now that I've given up on Sarah. When I think about it, I'm really glad to be living in this house. Well, it might be smaller than this one.
Laura, the wife of the eldest son, said this with a nasty smile to her niece. At Laura's terrible verbal abuse, the eldest son, Ben, grabbed her shoulder and yelled, "Hey, there's no need to say that much to a child, right? That's too much, no matter what." That's right, Laura. That's too cruel. Sarah's real father and mother might have their own circumstances, and we don't know what situation they're in. It's wrong to deny them unilaterally. I agreed with Ben and criticized Laura. Laura lacks consideration for her niece.
Because it's not a normal family. Patricia's sister's family? Normally, you'd want to raise your own child, right? But to choose to raise someone else's child? I can't believe it. I couldn't do it. And to have a child whose background we don't know in our house? Honestly, it's kind of creepy.
Laura said, scratching her cheek and showing a nasty smile. The eldest son and I were at a loss for words at Laura's terrible remarks. This is not something that should be heard by an 8-year-old niece. I was thinking of taking my niece home soon, because I didn't want to stay here any longer. That's when my niece, who had been silent until now, asked Laura.
I've been wondering for a while. Who is the person in the closet, next to the living room?
My niece looked like she was certain of something.
What?
Laura muttered and turned pale. I am Patricia, 60 years old. I'm the head of a law firm. Because I worked too hard, I once got married but divorced after about 3 years. I have one son, but he recently got married and left home. But I'm not lonely. The law firm I run has been busy lately with increased referrals from clients. Also, I enjoy attending training sessions and occasionally drinking with fellow lawyers, so my days are reasonably enjoyable. However, sometimes when I go to the shopping mall alone, I see happy families and feel envious. I might not have felt this way if my marriage had continued. My solace is my beloved niece, Sarah. My niece is my sister's daughter, 8 years old now. She has no blood relation to my sister. My sister always wanted children. With her husband's support, they tried hard for a while, but eventually gave up on conceiving. However, since both of them loved children, they adopted my niece when she was 3. But this niece is a bit of an enigma. She has keen intuition, and I feel she has some special abilities. Once, when my sister and niece were coming to my house, I secretly hid luxury sweets in the back of the fridge, a gift from a client. My niece loves sweets and would insist on eating them if found. She especially loves luxury sweets and would cry until given some. So I hid them. But after a while at my house, she started fussing.
I smell something good.
My sister laughed, not believing her. My niece, sniffing around, pointed at me and said,
I definitely smelled something good, Aunt Patricia. You're hiding delicious sweets from me, aren't you? They must be in the back of the fridge.
She guessed the hiding spot. Surprised, I took out the luxury sweets from the fridge. My niece smiled triumphantly.
See, I knew it.
My sister was amazed. Needless to say, the luxury sweets all ended up in my niece's stomach. Such incidents happened frequently. Today, I was going to visit my eldest son and his wife's new house with my niece to celebrate their new home. The reason I'm with my niece is that my sister suddenly had to work on her day off. My sister's husband is always working hard and hardly home, so I sometimes take care of my niece on short notice. After chatting happily with Sarah, I arrived at the eldest son's new house, holding hands with her.
It's big and beautiful,
my niece exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. Indeed, the eldest son's house, being newly built, had white, clean walls. Moreover, it was well located, and the land was expensive, yet it was reasonably spacious. There was a garage that could fit 2 cars, making efficient use of the space. I pressed the doorbell, feeling a bit nervous. It was because this was my first time seeing Laura since the wedding half a year ago. Soon, light footsteps were heard, and the front door opened.
Yes. Patricia, long time no see.
Laura came out, greeting me with a smile. Mom, thank you for coming today. The eldest son followed Laura out of the house and thanked me. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm really sorry for the suddenness, but is it okay if my niece Sarah joins us? I told the eldest son and his wife that I had to take care of her suddenly.
Nice to meet you. I'm Sarah. Please take care of me.
My niece greeted them, looking a bit scared and nervous.
Of course, it's okay. You're Sarah, right? You're cute.
The eldest son spoke to my niece with a smile. Just when I thought it would be okay, Laura's shrill voice echoed.
Are children okay? Won't they dirty our new house?
Laura seemed a bit displeased. She is in a bit of a bad mood. She's a well-behaved child. She often comes to my house, so don't worry. I tried to reassure Laura.
Well, if you say so, I guess it's fine. But make sure not to touch anything inside the house or open any doors or closets without permission.
Laura glared at my niece, pointing her finger as she spoke. My niece is a gentle child, so she seemed a bit intimidated by Laura's attitude. After that, Laura served us drinks, and we chatted about trivial things for a while. We talked about celebrity marriages and popular shops in the neighborhood. My niece didn't seem interested in the conversation and quietly ate her snacks. Concerned about her, the eldest son started talking to her.
You're really cute. Do you resemble your dad or mom?
He didn't know about my niece's adoption, so it was just small talk with no ill intent. But my niece already knew she wasn't biologically related to her parents, and it's a delicate topic. As I was wondering what to do, my niece began to speak softly.
I don't resemble either. I'm not biologically related to Dad and Mom. I don't even know where my real parents are.
The atmosphere suddenly turned heavy. Clearly, the eldest son felt he had asked something inappropriate and was flustered. Then Laura spoke up.
Oh no! Sarah isn't the biological child of her parents? That's so sad.
As the eldest son and I stood in shock, Laura was smiling.
Then Sarah might not be able to have a happy marriage, right? You know, like a negative cycle?
Laura said with a nasty smile.
That's too rude, Laura. Sorry, Sarah.
The eldest son scolded Laura and apologized to my niece.
It's okay. It's the truth. Don't worry about it.
My niece seemed to be acting nonchalant, as if to reassure the eldest son. Laura looked as if she hadn't said anything wrong. I was quite angry at Laura's insensitive attitude, completely oblivious to the situation. I felt it was inappropriate for an 8-year-old child. At the same time, I felt very sorry for my niece, who was treated this way by Laura.
Then let me show you around the new house,
the eldest son said to us deliberately in a bright tone, trying to change the heavy atmosphere.
You'll be quite surprised. It's quite spacious.
Laura, seemingly having forgotten her earlier gaffe, spoke to us cheerfully. For a while, the conversation went smoothly. Then Laura, smiling, opened the kitchen door.
This is the kitchen. It's a trendy design that's been popular recently. I was very particular about ordering it.
Laura boasted to us. Yes, it's impressive. I agreed, seeing the spacious and luxurious kitchen that must have cost a lot. In this manner, the eldest son and his wife showed us various rooms, including the bathroom, toilet, and bedroom.
However, isn't it nice? This must be quite enviable for you, Sarah.
Laura's superior attitude was superfluous, though. After touring the new house, we returned to the living room and were having tea again. Laura seemed satisfied, having been able to show off each room.
Our house is much more wonderful than yours, isn't it? We visited a lot of model houses and chose carefully.
Her eyes once again showed a superior attitude. I thought it was childish to brag to an 8-year-old child. While I was frowning at this, Laura, pleased that my niece was quietly nodding, became even more arrogant.
Ah, but Sarah, your real dad and mom live somewhere else, right? Since they abandoned you, maybe they're poorer than Patricia's sister. Thinking about it, it's really good that you can live in your current house, though it might be smaller than this one.
Laura said this with a nasty smile to my niece. At Laura's terrible verbal abuse, the eldest son grabbed her shoulder and shouted,
Hey, Laura, there's no need to say that much to a child. Isn't that too much?
That's right, Laura. That's too cruel. Sarah's real dad and mom might have their own circumstances, and we don't know what situation they're in. It's wrong to deny them unilaterally. I agreed with the eldest son and criticized Laura. Laura lacks consideration for her niece.
Because it's not a normal family. Patricia's sister's family? Normally you'd want to raise your own child, right? But to choose to raise someone else's child? I can't believe it. I couldn't do it. And to have a child whose background we don't know in our house? Honestly, it's kind of creepy.
Laura said, scratching her cheek and showing a nasty smile. The eldest son and I were at a loss for words at Laura's terrible remarks. This is not something that should be heard by an 8-year-old niece. My niece must have been quite hurt. I was thinking of taking her home soon because I didn't want to stay here any longer. That's when my niece, who had been silent until now, asked Laura,
I've been wondering for a while, who is the person in the closet next to the living room?
My niece looked like she was certain of something. Laura muttered, turning pale.
The room next to the living room. We're not using that room. It's more like a storage space filled with Laura's stuff that's still unorganized.
The eldest son answered with a gentle smile.
Then is the person in the closet living there because the room is full of things and there's no space to live?
My niece asked the eldest son with a curious face.
No. There's no way someone is living in the closet, right? What are you talking about, Sarah?
The eldest son exclaimed, a bit flustered.
We're newlyweds, you know. We don't have children yet, and it's just the two of us living in this house, right, Ben?
Laura talked to the eldest son insistently.
Yeah.
The eldest son, seemingly pressured by Laura's intensity, answered with a strained face. I felt something was off, like Laura was desperately hiding something.
There's definitely someone in the closet. I don't lie,
my niece said, puffing out her cheeks. It was cute, considering she's just a child. Then I looked at Laura intently. Given everything so far, my niece's intuition is uncannily accurate. Moreover, Laura's behavior has been clearly odd since a while ago, and her eyes are darting around. I thought we should check the closet. Looking at the eldest son, it seemed he felt the same, as he nodded at me. So I said, in a deliberately bright tone, Hey, since Sarah is saying this, why don't we take a look in the closet?
No, there's no need to specifically look in the closet, right?
Laura waved her hands frantically at Sarah, refusing. Her expression seemed a bit irritated, making her even more suspicious.
But I'm really curious. I promise not to touch or break anything inside the closet.
My niece spoke desperately to Laura. Laura, since Sarah is saying this, why don't you show us? Sarah is quite a mysterious child and often has accurate hunches. What if, hypothetically, there was a burglar who hid in the closet? Wouldn't you be worried? I spoke as if to reason with the eldest son and my niece. At this point, I suspected Laura might be up to something, but I tried not to show it.
No, but...
Laura hesitated.
It's fine, Laura. Mom and Sarah are saying this, so let's just check the closet. There's probably nothing weird in it.
The eldest son said gruffly, seemingly tired of the situation.
Just wait, I'll clean up the room and the closet later. Let's do it another day, okay? Let's.
Laura persisted more. It seemed she really didn't want something to be seen. Seizing the moment, I stood up. Enough, Laura. You're hiding something in the closet. Let me check. Saying this, I briskly opened the door to the room next to the living room. Looking inside, it indeed appeared to be a storage room. Cardboard boxes were placed everywhere, and it was cluttered. In that situation, Laura said,
Patricia, now that you see it's just a storage room, we're good, right? Let's go back to the living room.
She tried to pull my arm to prevent me from going further in. Indeed, it was a storage room, but I wanted to check the closet my niece mentioned. However, Laura, seemingly desperate to avoid being seen, grabbed my arm and wouldn't let go. Then, my niece slipped past us into the room and stood in front of the closet.
Sorry, I just have to check because I'm really curious.
She said this as she briskly opened the closet door. When we looked inside the closet, there was a man lying down.
What's going on, Laura? Why is there a man I don't know sleeping in our closet?
The eldest son yelled at Laura with a voice filled with anger. Laura's face turned from pale to white. She could only say,
I'm sorry.
Laura, what's really going on? You just got married to Ben, and you're already cheating? I was more bewildered than angry. The man in the closet looked to be in his early 20s. He was quite handsome, but very thin and looked weak. I thought he was sleeping, but on closer inspection, he seemed to be in a semi-conscious state. His mouth was neatly covered with cloth, seemingly to prevent him from speaking. Toy handcuffs were put on his hands, making it impossible for him to escape. As the eldest son and I were speechless at the situation, my niece spoke to Laura.
Did you kidnap this man?
I thought it was impressive how my niece could stay calm and ask questions in this situation. When spoken to by my niece, Laura, who had been pale, seemed to brazenly admit.
Yes, so what?
As if it was nothing.
Laura, do you even understand what you're saying?
The eldest son's voice was shaking, likely due to his considerable agitation. Well, anyone would be in such a situation. That's right, Laura. Kidnapping is a crime. You know? I found my voice wavering as I spoke.
But I had no choice. Ben has money. But he looks like a bear. I want a child with an angelic, cute appearance like Sarah. But I can't expect that from a child with Ben. That's why I wanted a child with someone good-looking.
Laura said this as if it wasn't a big deal. That doesn't mean you can just kidnap a good-looking man and get away with it. I frowned without realizing it. Is this man your lover or something? It didn't seem likely from the situation, but I asked Laura just in case.
Lover? Of course not. This man was a staff member at a club I used to go to. He got suddenly fired due to some trouble with the shop and was about to be thrown out of his house. So I invited him, saying I'd support him for a while if he stayed at my house.
Laura answered with a laugh. Then why is he so weakened? It was consensual, right? I asked Laura, feeling very confused.
That's because when he got to this house, he found out I was married, from the shoes in the entrance. He tried to run away, saying it was different from what he heard, since I told him I was single. So I had to do this to keep him from escaping.
I felt quite disgusted by Laura's proud response. The eldest son seemed too shocked by what he had heard to say anything. Anyway, if you brought him here by force, you're a criminal. I'm going to report this to the police, of course. I spoke firmly and called the police in front of Laura.
Why are the police involved? I just brought a person who lost his job and had nowhere to live. It's like a good deed, isn't it? I should be thanked,
Laura said, turning her face away. How could Laura show no remorse when the man was so weakened? I couldn't believe she didn't think she had done anything wrong. A heavy silence fell over the room in this terrible situation. Then,
Laura, I'm going to divorce you,
the eldest son muttered.
Why? You are like my bank. I can't believe you can't even fulfill that role. I won't divorce you.
Laura screamed at the eldest son, her eyes bloodshot and almost crazed. I shielded my niece behind me and said, Given this situation, you can definitely get a divorce. You know what I do for a living, right? I'm a lawyer. I'll make sure you and Laura get divorced, even if I have to force it. And since she's made such a blunder, I'm going to demand the highest amount of compensation from her. I spoke to Laura calmly. Yes, I'm a lawyer. I can easily handle a case like this and lead it to divorce. Laura finally seemed to understand the seriousness of the eldest son's intention to divorce.
No, I don't want a divorce. Please, Ben, forgive me,
Laura cried, trying to approach the eldest son. She probably never thought of divorce. Then my niece, who had been hiding behind me, stepped forward.
Even if blood ties are important, a child born in such an environment can never be happy. Even if they are born cute, they will live their life resenting you.
That's right. If they had such an unreasonable mother, they might run away as soon as they could. Someone who causes so much trouble and commits crimes just to have a cute-looking child doesn't deserve to be a parent, I murmured. The eldest son started speaking, as if he had made up his mind.
Laura, never show up in front of us again. I used to think I'd be happy to have children with you in the future. I don't even want to see your face now. From today, we're strangers. If anything comes up, we'll settle it in court.
Laura kept crying. She seemed to have no words to say. After a while, the doorbell rang, indicating the arrival of the police. Eventually, Laura was arrested. The man Laura had kidnapped was apparently being searched for by his family, and the situation had become serious. He was hospitalized, but it seems he will be discharged soon, as he only suffered from malnutrition, with no life-threatening conditions. The eldest son visited him once and was thanked repeatedly, the man crying with gratitude. The man plans to demand hospital and compensation fees from Laura, so I'm thinking of introducing him to a lawyer I know. Since then, Laura has repeatedly demanded to meet the eldest son. He has received many letters from her, begging for help and asking for a chance to make things right. I also received a letter from Laura. It read, "I'm sorry for everything. Please, Patricia, try to convince Ben to drop the divorce and compensation claim." Of course, I tore up the letter and threw it away. Laura was self-centered until the end. She will likely reflect in jail, but I have no intention of helping her. After that, the eldest son sold the newly built house. He said it had too many memories. Fortunately, since it was newly built, it sold for an amount that covered the mortgage. I'm relieved about that. Also, the eldest son has been actively introduced to women by sympathetic colleagues and friends who knew about his divorce and circumstances. He has a dinner date today with a woman introduced by a friend. The eldest son may look like a bear, but he's really kind-hearted. I'm sure he'll find someone attracted to his personality. As for me, I continue to be busy with work. Lately, my caseload has increased, leaving even less time for myself, but I still make time to see my niece. Recently, I've been meeting more often with my sister, her husband, and my niece as a group of 4. Both of them are trying to cut back on work to spend more time with Sarah. My niece always says, "I love Dad and Mom the most," and clings to them. The 3 of them look like a real family to anyone. And my niece smiles at me and says she loves me. Her smiling face is incredibly cute. I hope to continue enjoying such happy times with my niece and her parents.